What's going on, everybody? Tarkov, Gamer guys, back. Another episode of Let's Talk Tarkov. And this one's going to be an interesting one. So I'm going to comment on essentially the current state of the game, how we quickly transition from a massive W with a lot of recent changes to some pretty massive L's, and a couple of comments, my thoughts, I guess, as well as how do we move forward and how does Tarkov get back to being the great game that it is or was in some perspectives, and can Battlestate Games recover? Can Escape from Tarkov recover? Because you need a community to have a game, and right now it's like on fire, and this isn't new, but it's happening once again. So let's jump in. Let's talk Tarkov. So I'm gonna pop something up. Essentially, the premise of this video, the TLDR, is this up front. Basically, some pretty large streamers in the Tarkov community, Vibin being one of them, recently got banned without a ton of communication. Long story short, back and forth. There's a whole lot of just idiosyncrasies behind it. Lack of communication from Battlestate Games. Essentially got flagged. Their account got flagged for something to do with RMT, and essentially got a 60-day ban, reset to level 1. Everybody is like going back and forth on if it should happen that way or not, and Battlestate Games is being relatively, or not even relatively, they're basically not saying anything. They put out a couple of things, and now everybody's taking sides against the streamers, against RMT, against the game, against Battlestate. It's just like there's no winning in this conversation, with the exception that hopefully on the back end it can get better, and maybe we find a different way. And then there's a lot of discussion about, is the system that they have even working? My upfront thoughts is no, it's not. There's a lot that needs to change. There should be clear communication. If you pay for something and then that something gets revoked from you, you should know why. That's my clear stance if you're curious, and I'm not here to take sides by any means. I think there's probably, we could probably point the finger in every direction. The tough part ends up being that we paid for a product. If it gets taken away from you and you have an inability to use it, you should know why. That's my main stance. First and foremost, it should be clear. You should be able to dispute it. If they don't end up agreeing with you, you should continue to be able to follow a process to be able to do that, because I don't personally know Vibin, haven't really watched much of his content, but I know he's, pretty big in the Escape from Tarkov community. I've certainly seen some things from him. Definitely somebody that grinds, and I think does a decent job of positively promoting the game, which doesn't necessarily matter. But it's an interesting dilemma now, because they essentially can't back off from it, because then they unban him, or the other streamer who I can't recall their name. And then everybody's going to get up in arms about streamers having an advantage over people and so on and so forth, which they kind of already do anyways with some of the private discords and some of the other stuff that's going on. But it's understandable why that stuff is there. Like, there's so many layers to this conversation. I could probably talk for 30 minutes about everything going on, and probably have some hot takes, and probably have some, definitely going to say some things that people don't like, and that's totally fine. So that's where we're at, and that's just my upfront opinion. So if you don't want to watch the video anymore, feel free to click off of it. But I do want to show, so just really quick, a couple of tweets. This is Vibin trying to reach out to Battlestate Games. Essentially, they came over to say the account was flagged taking part of activities that breached terms of service, which is and has been previously discussed, not in defense of Battlestate, but they have said that giving large amounts of items to players, even though there's a ton of restrictions, will get you flagged potentially, especially if you're giving a lot of gear away, and then you unfortunately can't repeal a temporary ban, or appeal, get the ability to appeal to repeal. He asked what activities, and they said they can't disclose it, and that's pretty messed up. I also just have to highlight Devil Dog Gamer. He comes on and goes, so I guess everyone hates Battlestate Games again. Just saw the drama. Oh boy, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. And Mr. Armbur's coming in talking about community infighting and all that good stuff. It's definitely happening. And this community, this is probably the most engaged in a community I've been in terms of a video game in a while. There are some other communities that I certainly took part of and really enjoyed. But this one, Tarkov, is definitely the most engaged I've been in just kind of following what's going on with the game. Now, will this impact, let's first start with, does this impact you playing? Potentially. Potentially. Pasili basically came on and said that you can get banned for just playing the game. Now, do I think everyone's getting flagged if you bring a buddy in and you drop them a kit or 2 or 3 or 5 and like you're gonna get banned? No, I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I don't think the system is I personally don't even think the system is able to track it that well. I think they're looking for large volumes. Now, some folks have come out and said, hey, I've had some new players or I've had some friends where I've dropped them a lot of gear, maybe given them a bunch of ammo, really good ammo, and some other things that is still drop capable and have either been flagged or banned. And I think one peg posted at least a message from somebody saying something of the like. However, the fact that it still remains out there that it could happen is not a good problem. So let's start with why this system is in place if you're unfamiliar. RMT, which is real money trading, essentially trading, paying for items in game for then somebody to give them to you so you don't have to go get them yourselves. It's sleazy, it's stupid, but people do it, all right? Especially in a game as brutal as Tarkov. This game, like, epitomizes the reason you would want to do this, because it is brutal, right? If you're not good, if you're down on your luck, if you don't have the time, but you really enjoy the game, there's lots of reasons you could justify doing this. But Tarkov makes it, for some people, almost probably essential because they don't want to spend the time. They don't want to do the grind. That's why a lot of people play this game, really enjoy it, but don't want to continue to play it. They don't want to keep doing the grind. What I think is an issue with this system is the fact that it should not be that... It's not being implemented right. They've already made so many restrictions to the things that you can drop in game that if other people are doing it for RMT for just literal gear at this point, or just to get money, I don't know that that's necessarily a huge problem, right? You don't want RMTers out there because they're cheating, they're running around, they're hacking, they're killing people, they're doing all that stuff. A lot of the RMTers, from a cheating perspective, there's no sense for them to do that. Are they still ruining people's raids? Absolutely. But they're in there to vacuum and suck up everything and get out of the raid because they need to be able to have the items. They're probably not getting in a ton of fights. I'm making a ton of assumptions here, but I don't think that's the core of the cheating issue we're seeing. The core of the cheating issue is cheats are readily available. There hasn't been a big ban wave, at least that I know of, and those people are doing it because they want to just be better than other folks. At this point, and I don't know because I don't have the statistics, I certainly hope Battlestate Games does, but I don't know how bad of an issue it is with the current restrictions, and I don't feel like that's the main issue that we're trying to solve here or the way to go about solving it. A lot of folks have been recently talking about going to back towards like 0.12, where loot behind locked rooms was really good. You could find a ton of really good stuff. Labs got nerfed into the ground, but the loot was probably better dispersed. I think loot dispersion now is better, just for the record, than it had been previously. But loot behind locked rooms has taken a hard nerf, and that needs to come up. If they could do the loot dispersion like they did and put good loot behind some of the loot rooms, I don't think that's a bad thing. That is a good, at least, step in the right direction for where we need to go. And again, if people are RMTing and picking up that stuff, there's a lot of the stuff that they can't just drop. You can't drop GPUs, you can't drop LEDX, you can't drop Bitcoins. There's cases, you know, just the things that are really useful that people were probably paying a decent amount of money for in RMT, you can't drop now anyways. I personally don't care if a player who doesn't play a lot gets a slick and a meta M4 and 1,000 rounds of 995, because when he gets one tapped or he gets smoked in the legs by a KS user, nope, no offense to the KS users out there, like he loses that stuff and it goes to somebody else. That is not a proposition that I'm worried about, or a position I'm worried about for the longevity of this game. And honestly, that if I die to a super mega chad, how do I know he's just a super mega chad and he has all the gear and I don't? That doesn't bother me. That's no difference than me as a level 45 something bringing in a solid kit for my friend who has experience, and then you killing my friend and picking his gear up. The issue that I think one of the core issues is that this is definitely going to be a deterrent for people helping their friends. And BSG calls it boosting. It's not boosting. I think you have to recognize that with the cycle of this game, and Battlestate Games needs to recognize this, with the cycle that the game has and the wipe cycle and everything else like that, there are people that don't play this game that would, if the grind wasn't so bad, and we can have an argument about that, if the grind wasn't so bad, and now you're deterring bringing those folks in and helping them, helping new players experience the game. A new player, I was a new player solo that suffered through 6, 7, 8 wipes ago, learning the game, dying, having a terrible survive rate. I don't want to do that again. And if I can help friends, the community, whatever, get through some of those things, that's great. It's also kind of the whole idea with keys, right? The change to the keys is fine because I need to now go in with you and help escort you through the raid and open that door for you instead of being able to drop the key. I don't think RMT, and I don't think this is the position that we need to keep taking. You've made the restrictions, talking about Battlestate Games, you've made the restrictions, leave them in. Watch for just insane amounts, like just insane amounts of gear from the same account. If they're going into every raid dropping things, that's probably an issue. Other than that, what are you worried about? And again, none of it, and I'm sure there are exceptions, most of it is not stuff that's going to make somebody rich or give them a crazy advantage over other folks. So just leave it the way it is. If you want to make those changes, remove Reapers, remove Fleers from being able to be dropped, which here's the other problem. It doesn't work anyways, because if you die and you have that stuff insured and it falls to the ground, it goes away, it gets deleted. So am I going to automatically get that back in insurance? See, this is the other core issue I don't think a lot of people are talking about, is they have an insurance system designed around the fact that you die and you can get your things back. But if the things go away when you die, this is a problem, which is why they can't do it to armor, to helmets, to some of those other things, because you die and it would disappear. So there's either a complete rework that needs to happen, or they need to just be satisfied with where the system as it is, tune the algorithm to better spot this, and then just keep working forward. Should they unban those guys? I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know them well enough to make that judgment. I personally don't care, but it doesn't affect me, and I can understand their positions. If it was me, I would be furious, right? And I would certainly want my account back, and I would certainly want the ability. I think the thing that BSG needs to communicate now, in order to take from what was just previously a massive W, which is recoil changes, all the stuff they were doing for movement, like the game got pushed into such a good position that they could have built on it, and instead now we've reverted, we've gone backwards. And I get it's an impossible position for BSG because people are pissed off about the cheater situation and everything going on like that. I have no qualms about that. That needs to also be fixed. Players need to not be invisible anymore. But you had a position to move the game forward, and it feels like we're taking a step back, which is like a huge letdown for a lot of folks, myself included. And I feel like there are opportunities to do this better. But how do we go forward? Can we? Yes, we can. Of course, the game can recover. The game can fix. The BSG can start communicating. They can do some things. You know, they can be a little bit more transparent on some items, and I think people would give them the benefit of that, because the game in a lot of aspects is great. And I also don't want to forget that the game, in my opinion, is great in a ton of aspects. It certainly needs a ton of work still, but there's really nothing else out there like it. So can we move forward? Absolutely. Here's how we do it, in my opinion. First of all, RMT thing, adjust your algorithm, leave it what it is. stop banning people for getting viewer kits and dropping and helping your friends. Just recognize that that's going to happen in this game, regardless of if you want it to happen or not, unless you completely change the system about how gear works, which they're not going to do, and just let it be. Let friends help each other. That only helps the game. That only helps the game, which is the other frustrating thing. Like, you should want to help your friends. You should be wanting people to be telling their friends about this game, saying, hey, come, I've got experience. Let me help you. I'll gear you up, and I'll help you get through some of the tough challenges, and then they can take it from there, enjoy the experience, etc. That only helps you. It sells more games. I don't know why you wouldn't want that. I get that you don't want somebody with 50 million rubles to give a level 1 player 10 million rubles, but even if they had that, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make them good at the game. It's just going to give them access to things, and they can't buy half the shit that you'd want to get anyways because it's banned on the flea market and it's been moved behind traders that you don't have access to until level 4. So like, what are we worried about? So stop worrying about it. Move forward. Number 2, fix the loot. Fix the loot. That would go a long way. Marked rooms, key card rooms, locked rooms that typically were good. Put the good loot back in there. I don't think it's going to massively change the RMT issue, and to be honest, I just don't see that being a big driver at this point. And I don't think that's, again, impacting. And there could be, again, there could be stats behind this that I'm totally wrong on, but I don't think that's the key. The next thing is communicate and come up with a solid system with good customer support, that when you get a ban, you get clear, by the book definitions of what you broke, when you were flagged, some data behind that, so that if you want to argue it, you are more than welcome to, but you need to have the ability to appeal even a temporary ban. We paid for something. It'd be like going to, I'm going to use a really bad example. Go to the grocery store and buy a thing of tomatoes, and somebody walks in a week later and says, you're not cooking the right things with these tomatoes, we're taking them away. Well, what am I cooking that was wrong? We're not telling you. Very oversimplified example, but you got to do it, and you have to communicate, and we did pay for it. These folks did pay for this. Now granted, you can be like, well, you just can't play it for 60. No, that doesn't matter. If you bought a car and then somebody took it from you for 60 days, you'd be pretty upset, right? Now granted, not the same amount of money, but hopefully you get my example. Make it a system with good customer service that's going to support the tickets. There's certainly a bunch of cheaters out there that you should not unban. Absolutely. Absolutely no issues with that, but provide clear communication on why they were banned, some of potentially the data behind it, if that's feasible, and then give them a system. Let them fill out a form, somebody reviews it. Maybe there's steps in the process. I don't know what it looks like, but you got to be able to do that. I think if they could do those things and then more consistently on a regular basis communicate with the community beyond just like Twitter and beyond some of these other social media platforms, which not everybody has. We've talked about in-game messages. In-game messages should be a thing, which happens in a ton of other games. As soon as you load the game up, boom, pop up. You ever played Apex? They do that, right? You can't even skip it, which I hate. But there should be some in-game messages or a messaging system. Even on the launcher, they could do some stuff that would key you in, that would at least point you to some of the communication that they're putting out there. Again, besides these Discord servers and all this other crap that's going on, and Twitter and whatever, okay? Communicate, do it clearly. They can't tell us about the cheater situation. I fully respect that. I'm not worried about that part. I am worried about it. They need to fix the game. They need to fix cheaters. They need to do what they can in those regards. But again, I know RMT drives a lot of the cheating. I don't think at this point it's as big of an issue that we think it is, and I would love to see some data to say otherwise. But I think those are the changes. So without making this video, it's already way longer than I wanted it to be. That's my rant. I feel bad for those guys that got banned if it was unjustified. This is not what we're worried about. Battlestate Games. It should not be. Helping friends, quote unquote, boosting. You want this to happen. You want people to want to get their friends into it without them having to slog through the first 400 hours of just getting repeatedly shot in the face over and over again, especially for folks coming in at different and varying points through the wipe, and this is not the play. And a couple of solutions, at least ideas on how we could mend the problem, fix it. Can you even unban those guys without the streamer haters jumping in there talking about it? Probably not. You're gonna get just as much shit for that, because then the random Joe Schmo who you also banned is gonna be like, well, because I'm not popular, I can't, like, which is also true to a certain extent. So it's just a shitty situation they're in with no definable winnable position, but they need to do some things moving forward to fix it. God, I hope they do. God, I hope to fix the invisible player situation, and boy, do I hope they do some stuff for cheaters, because it needs it. And if it could, with a lot of the changes we have gotten this wipe and streets and everything else, this game could be back right up on top. But until some of that stuff changes, probably not going to happen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Sorry for the rant. It's literally just me ranting, so apologize. I don't know how much I'm going to continue to play. I'm going to continue to do our series as best I can. I haven't had a super big urge. The Kappa grind is getting to me a little bit. I'm interested to do it. I want to get to Lightkeeper, but I'm having some struggles with that. So we'll see where we go as far as this moving forward. I still love the game. I still love playing it. It's still, there's, again, no experience like it, but I have also been enjoying a lot of other games. So I'm gonna flash some socials at you. Like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts down below if you're even playing this wipe. What you think, what would get you back in, some good ideas. And yeah, just appreciate you clicking on it. And hopefully we'll see you soon on a stream or something like that. Again, links in the description. I've been Doc, Average Gamer Guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.